Since 1991, when he emerged Deputy Speaker House of Representatives, the presidential candidate of New Nigeria People's Party, Dr. Rabiu Kwankwaso, has no doubt been a leading figure in Nigeria's political space. From 1999, when he was first elected governor of Kano State, to 2003, when he was appointed the Minister of Defense, 2011, when he returned as the governor of Kano State, and finally 2015, when he emerged as senator for Kano Central. Kwankwaso has served in virtually all political offices that matter in the federation, except the office of the president. However, his entrance into the presidential race of 2023, though many consider it a late start, received a warm welcome by many Nigerians in its early days, until the campaign season became intense and the prerequisite for Nigerians to decide took an even deeper and more demanding turn. Across different platforms, the Nigerian patriot has continued to insist that he is more qualified and suited to be Nigeria's next president. No doubt, the NNPP has become the fourth leg that stabilizes the table of Nigeria's political base in the forthcoming election. Hello and welcome to Politics Alive, reaching you from Alive TV. I am Ulubenga George. I will return to you right after this break. It's good to have you join me in this conversation.
Thank you for having me.
Let's begin straight away with the most trending of the comment of Alhaji Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso. He was at the Chatham House yesterday. Yes, everyone, most of the candidates have been going there. The candidate of the Labour Party was just there last week. And before, we had the candidate of the All Progressives Congress, also at the Chatham House. And of course, to crown it all, we had the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission also appear before that honorable house, so to speak. I'd like to begin, before we talk about the details, of what these candidates have said on that platform. A lot of people feel that Nigerian politicians, traveling all the way to London to sell themselves and to tell the European public what to do or how they intend to run a Nigerian African government seems absurd. I'd like to get your view. What's so important about going to the Chatham House to, sell themselves to that audience over there?
Well, thank you so very much once again. And that question, I'm going to put it in a little bit of multifaceted, in two segments so that our audience can understand. The first thing that comes to mind when I hear people talk about that is, look, our primary purpose at NNPP, and of course, our predecessor, which is our presidential candidate, distinguished Senator Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, is that we want to save democracy, we want to rescue Nigeria. Number one, we cannot do it alone. That's one part of it. The second segment of that is that there is no one nation that stands alone and do everything and achieve alone. So as much as we want Nigerians to understand what we are bringing in terms of the new Nigeria, a better Nigeria, a Nigeria with better prosperous environment for all of us, we also need to let the international community understand what we're bringing to the table. So on that, looking at it like that, in addition, of course, to that is our Nigerian diaspora community. We have a very large population outside of Nigeria. And I'm part of them, have been there. I've done that in the sense that when people don't understand what candidates are all about, we're hearing it from the second and the third. What do I say? From the third persons instead of hearing from the candidate. So that platform gives us the opportunity to tell the whole world what Nigeria is about to do and what the candidate is going to do to achieve what we set out to do. So I think it's a very neutral platform for that matter. It's neutral to everybody. They don't have any particular interest, I will assume, on any candidate. So if you look at it like that, there's so many reasons why that platform is very important. And if you look at other democracies, even in America, when they're going through their campaign situation, people want to know your foreign relations agenda. What do you have? How do you want to do this? So, and we're just...
Well, sorry that I have to interrupt. You know, I like that you spoke to foreign agenda, even
Yes.
though we'll get to that within the conversation.
Yes.
But a lot of people do say, why London? Why the UK? Especially when you consider that the United Kingdom, London, were our colonial masters. And we claim to be a sovereign state. We continuously, just recently we saw how President Muhammadu Buhari told the international community to back off, that this is a Nigerian business especially, and they should watch how they interfere into the process of our election. Yes, I understand you have observers coming from the EU, from America, and other bodies, to observe our election. That may be acceptable. But don't you think that we are further subjecting ourselves to modern colonization by continuing to go to explain to that body, especially when you talk about people in diaspora? Statistics at the moment says that we have about 1.7 million of them.
Much more than that?
Yes, well, that's what's been captured so far. Perhaps there are double of that or more. The Nigerian population as we speak is over 200 million.
Yes.
The voting population is over 95 million registered voters that we're expecting in the 2023 elections. All things being equal. So if you look at the ratio between the international community and the local community, then you want to say perhaps yes, the point of people in diaspora does matter, but maybe it just might not suffice when we look at the figures. There may be other reasons. Are we not further subjecting ourselves to modern slavery and prioritizing foreign bodies to local bodies and to the Nigerian voters, to the Nigerian electorate here?
Well, the way that I see it is that, just like I said, there is no one nation that stands alone and does everything alone. That's number one. Number two, if you talk about economy, if you talk about social development, we have all these development partners. Number three, we also have bilateral agreements, multilateral agreements with different parts of the world. And in addition to that, anyone could have created a platform. It could have been in France, in Germany, in Australia, in China, in India, or United States. The fact of the matter is the relationship and the bond between Nigeria and the United Kingdom is always going to be there. It's part of our history. And even if you're looking at the people in diaspora, if you consider the number of Nigerian population in the UK or in Europe as a whole, you will see that they are much more than any other part of the world. So I don't think we need to, I think we should appreciate the fact that somebody is willing to hear what we have to say. And we should also be glad that somebody is willing to participate in the interest of our nation. I want to look at it from that point of view. And then, in addition to that, even President Muhammadu Buhari himself, like you said, went to the same place and presented himself to the world. And very importantly for us, a lot of the friends of Nigerians, countries that are friends of Nigeria, they look forward to a better Nigeria because it's good for them, it's good for their business, it's good for so many things that they do. So there's a particular interest in Nigeria among the nations in Africa. That's the fact of the matter. Apart from the fact that as of several years back, we're the largest, not in terms of the economy factor, ours is more favorable, but how did we get here? So what I'm saying is that yes, we can look at it from one point of view to say, why should we go to London? We have to speak to the world. And the best way to do that is to create a neutral ground for everybody to be able to present themselves, present their agenda, and present how they are going to accomplish what they said they were accomplishing.
All right, interesting one. I mean, you have defensively,
but very importantly, to speak to the Nigerians in diaspora. It's very important.
I think that's really impressive. All right, let's move forward now and talk about the delivery at the Chatham House itself. All right, so we had Dr. Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso there yesterday, and of course he voiced a lot of things. In my view, many of these things that he talked about are the same things that the other candidates who have been to that platform also spoke about. But he keeps on repeating one thing, and that's where I'd like you to start this conversation from. He says that when they talked about the possibility of merger and all of that, he said, well, that if somebody else is put on the table and he is able to weigh that person to see that indeed this person is better than himself, then he would definitely back down. Meaning that he's in the race so far, considering himself as being the best, amongst all the candidates. For what background is he saying this, considering the fact that within the same race, you've had people who have been two-term governors, apart from the president, the candidate of the PDP, who was the former vice president at the same time, when he was governor. So we have Atiku Abubakar of the PDP, who was vice president for 8 years. We have Tinubu, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who also was an 8-year term governor. Then we have Peter Obi, who also had 8 years. And all of them have their experiences. They talk about how much they've developed their state. One thrives on how frugal he is. A lot of people have their own history back there. What is so distinct about Alhaji Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso that makes him think that he is far better than all the other candidates?
Thank you very much. First, let me start from the statement that it's trending on the social media that he said he would talk. And I will also want to call your attention, and of course the attention of all Nigerians, to the fact that there are phases to this negotiation. When the Labour Party people came and discussed with us, we requested that there must be measurable yardsticks for us to do this negotiation and working together, because even in businesses, even in homes among family, if you want to negotiate with your husband, with your wife, you try to put forward your best. And their position is that the presidency should go to the southeast. And Nigerians were Nigerians first before we are from southeast or south or north central. So the fact of the matter is, when you are at that phase of negotiation and somebody is saying, I don't really have much to put on the table other than I want you to just step down for me, you have to respond. And his response is that, look, and actually I was not part of the actual negotiation, I was in the back end of it, and I was part of the team that sat down to say, okay, let's put this in categories: your achievement, your experience, and the rest of it. Not necessarily the educational background, but of course that's part of it, because we believe that some of the policies that are being made in Nigeria today is because the leadership of the country does not have the capacity to really look into the consequences sometimes of the decisions that they're making. Then you have to rely on somebody else to tell you. So as a leader, when you are not able to ask the appropriate question, you don't know the rules of certain engagement and all of that. So whatever they tell you goes. Somebody will tell our current president, you can still borrow. And you are borrowing to the extent that our naira is almost what, I don't want to say nothing. I know what I could do with 1 million naira 5 years ago, 3 years ago, and I know what I could not achieve with 1 million naira as I speak to you. So, well, if you look at it from that point, so he's trying to say that, look, let's look at all of this and let us agree that this is the person that will be. Anyway, that fell short, and that was when he made that statement that he's not desperate and it's not a do or die situation. If you bring forth somebody that is better than I, we will talk and we can agree, and I can be anything, the person can be anything, and we can work together. And I don't think you see that. You see, that statement is being propagated by, you know, the people that are wishing that will happen. But I'm saying that they should get off their lazy butt and do their work. And don't count on somebody to have done the work for you and come and hand it over to you.
This is an interesting one. I wonder who you're referring to when you say they should get up and do the work. But you know, it's quite interesting and insightful also that in that same conversation at the Chatham House yesterday, he alluded to the fact that the difference between North and South, I'm quoting him now, is that North knows him much more than the southern part of the country does.
That's correct.
Now, you had a negotiation that brought the South that didn't do him much, to the table to say, look, let's have this alignment. We are popular in the South to some extent, and you are popular in the North. Every time we keep talking about the North.
So that equates it. No, what I'm trying to say is that you have to look at that and you look at other factors. Because for me, it is not about North and South. We're at a critical junction. And we need somebody from the first state that has the experience. He has experience as a civil servant. He's been a defense minister. And you know what that means in Nigeria. He's not a child. And he has represented Nigeria in the as an advisor in Darfur. He has been a legislator. He has been in the executive. All of these people, he relates to them. And more beyond that, he relates to the grassroots. And you need to understand this man, that the kind of leadership that he exhibits is leadership by example. So I don't want to go too far into the Labour Party matter because he's even past that.
I wasn't looking at it from the point of a Labour Party maybe agreement or merger per se. I was looking at it from the reality of maybe the provision of the Electoral Act that says that you have to score, across several parts of the country.
Look, he was part, distinguished Senator Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso was part of the national conference that made that decision. So going into this venture or this project, he understands. Okay. And what I would tell you is that when we admit that the North is taken, basically because we have done the work. Now we are saying that we are not at the same level in the South. Okay? And when you are in a project of this manner, and you are able to evaluate yourself and be honest with yourself, that means that you know where you're going. In your back end, as you meet with your team, you determine how we're going to penetrate and impact the South. And that's what we're saying. And let me also tell you very quickly that we have gone through almost 500 local governments out of the 774. And to do that, it's not only in the North. We have traveled the road from Oyo State to Ondo State to Edo State to Delta State, and let me also tell you, we have candidates in all of these places.
Interested. I mean, you will continue to air your views and talk about how much your party is doing. But
so we're ready.
Let's take this quick break. All right, viewers, let's take this quick break. When we return, the conversation will continue with my guests in the studio. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We're still in the studios talking about Nigeria's prospects under a Kwankwaso leadership, and I have the campaign secretary of the new Nigerian People's Party right here in the studio with me, Folashade Aliyu, talking about this. Of course, before we went on that break, you were talking about quite a lot of interesting things and how well positioned the new Nigerian People's Party is, and of course the candidate. But I'd like to find out, especially some people did feel that Alhaji Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso arrived a bit late on the scene, and to confirm that, you would see many of the candidates, especially of the 2 or 3 other parties, going round at some point, to have the one that was having town hall meetings, the one that was having rallies, all across the country. But your party just constituted even its presidential campaign council at the beginning of the year. And, that seemed rather late, isn't it? Were you looking like some people actually suggested? Was it that the candidate was looking at the possibility of maybe saying, well, maybe we can step aside for someone and just play cool and give the opportunity for somebody that looks a bit more suited and positioned to take the leadership, come 2023 election?
Contrary, it was deliberate. It was very strategic for us to officially inaugurate our presidential campaign. And I'll tell you why. Coming late, the issue of coming late does not even arise because we've been at this. We understand INEC schedule, timetable, and we've been working with a timetable. Prior to that, I want to give you a little brief of our background. We started as friends of Kwankwaso, and then we advanced into TNM, the national movement, and then we decided to come together with NNPP. NNPP is not a brand new body. It's been around for some time, but not as prominent, nationwide. So we are prepared. We understand what it takes. We are looking at the schedule, and we're ready. Now, the Presidential Campaign Council, the reason why it took a little while for us to do that is, number one, we insisted, we wanted, and by the way, Senator Rabi Musa Kwankwaso is very interested in everyone that is part of that process, in the sense that we want people that are committed to our party, the people that are dedicated to the cause and the beliefs of the party, the people that are patriotic enough, as Nigerians, that are ready to do whatever it takes within their powers to create a better and prosperous Nigeria for all of us. So, and all of the people that we have there, we had to call them to be sure for them to accept that they want to be part of it. We have over 1,000, and as I'm speaking to you, even as of yesterday, people are still coming to the campaign office to say that they want to be part of it. So when I'm saying we have over 1,000, you don't necessarily put everybody's name out there at the same time, because you want to put the verified names out there and give opportunity to other people. So in other words, we have a lot of volunteers nationwide, volunteers. You know that we are not one of the money bags. And what we tell our people is that if you believe in Nigeria, in a better Nigeria, in a new Nigeria for all of us and our children and grandchildren, come and contribute your quota. Your quota is your service to your nation. As you volunteer with us, you are also providing service for generations to come, generations of Nigeria. So that was deliberate, and that was the reason why we did it. But I will also tell you that all of those people, they've been working. They've been working over the months. If I tell you that we've been to about 500 local government, that's not easy. That's not one person. We are going by road, we're going by air, we're going by water, just to be able to show. So distinguished Senator Rabi Musa Kwankwaso, he's a grassroots person. He loves it, even though it's, he loves to see people smile. He loves to look at their faces. He loves to feel them. And let me tell you, the kind of leadership that we need in Nigeria today is somebody, in addition to being patriotic, being compassionate, must be someone who is humane. Because if you are, the policies that you put forward, the person that says, even though my own children had good education, I want to the last child on the street to go to school. We all have a role to play in this election. This election is very critical. Look, what he's saying is that if we're not able to build on what has been done as a nation, then how do we become a greater nation? So that is to say that as a voter, as INEC personnel, as party people, as campaign organization, and what have you, everybody, all stakeholders that has anything and everything to do, even as observers, civil, the NGOs, the NGOs, the non-profit organizations, civil service, civil society organizations, let everybody try as much as possible to do the right thing. Because if we do the right thing, if we build on this electoral hat, that is going to at least make our election a little bit different. We're hopeful with the use of technology. If we all allow it to work and we do the right thing, we will choose the right leader and we will be a better nation. And I'm telling you that leadership virtue is in distinguished Senator Rabi Musa Kwankwaso, because in addition to being selfless, when you want to lead by example, that is to say, even the governors, the House of the National Assembly, the State Assembly, they will queue behind you. And then we can, because people say, oh, Nigeria cannot change. Nigeria can change. Absolutely. If we are all determined, if we are all patriotic enough, that we want a better and greater Nigeria, a new Nigeria for all of us, we can make it happen. It has to start, and the time is now.
Absolutely, believe you. We have to start now. All right, let's look a little into some statistics.
Yes.
The 2023 elections,
yes,
according to INEC record, was able to conclude that voters will be about 95,518,818 people.
Mm-hmm.
I like to be a bit of a comparison, because if you go back to 2003, where we had about 58 million people or thereabout, there was a growth, in the number of people that came out to register to vote, adding to the voter register every year.
Yes.
But summing it all up, in 2003, we had a 5.26% increase in voter participation. Now, fast forward to 2023, which is a decade later, 2 decades later, we have 11.26 million people there, but percent
increment
in participation. For me, with the growing population of the Nigerian state, picking up from 100 and something to now having over 200 in 2023, do you think that we are steadily growing? Or can we say we can record a consistent, voter information, voter registration, voter awareness campaign that is sustainable and that is commensurate with the population growth, with the economic growth, with demographic growth that we are having in Nigeria?
Well, let me start from the point of the increment, the growth, the progressive growth in terms of voters registration. Of course, you can use that data for so many things, but I want to look at it from the point of view that it's to our advantage as a nation, and particularly for us at NNPP, because that tells you that certain category or certain year range of people are coming into the voters net. Okay, so if those people are coming into the voters net, not necessarily all young adults, because you have some adults that were not participating, but the percentage is very little. So I will concentrate on the larger percentage to say that the young adults, and young adults we are looking at 18 to 47, they are coming into the voters net, which is very good. So why is that happening? Voters awareness. That's one of it. But more importantly, I can tell you that the reason why that is happening is the state of our nation. It's the state of our nation, the state of our economy, the state of our security, the state of our health, and the state of our foreign policies. And of course, you will also look at the fact that the state of our education. Because those people, if you look at age 18 to 47, let's say maybe age 18 to 25, 28, they still maybe finishing university, entering university or higher level or whatever, or doing their own business. That is a very, very important part of our formation as human beings. And that for that period, you are very agile, you are very active, you are ready to move, you want things to happen in your life. You are actually putting the foundation of your life together. And then you find out that you are in a nation that doesn't create an environment for you to succeed. So what do you want to do? You want to go into the voters net. So that's why I said it's very good for us. Now, if you look at it a little bit further, I am hoping and praying that people are not collecting voters card for as ID cards. We see a lot of that. We see a lot of situation where some certain political parties or some certain part of the region, they create voters apathy. People can come out because nobody wants to go out and die. Nobody says, I want to go out and die. You want to go out and perform your civic right. The government, the security apparatus, they should create a platform for us to do that. So what I'm saying, in other words, is let's look at it from the point of view that the state of our nation, we can do better, we can get better as a nation. And that's why we need a leadership that understands what it means from day one. That is to say that if you look at the policies that we put, our education policies, our foreign affairs policy, our economy policy, trade and investment, and so on and so forth, it is all centered around you, your family, and as a nation, as a people.
Okay, well, quite interesting submissions there. But let's get this one as we begin to wrap up in this conversation.
Yes.
The 2023 elections, according to INEC statistics again, says that 75.3% of participants in that election are youth,
yes.
Between the ages that you have mentioned, 18 to 49. Now, this figure covering this amount of percentage means that there are younger people, especially to these figures that we say have added to the voter register over the year. I'd like to know, you mentioned that maybe apart from the fact that we are growing, then it also could mean that the situation of the people is making them go into this.
Yes.
Do you think, given all the statistics that the INEC continues to roll out, that the Independent National Electoral Commission is well positioned, is well able, given the prevailing circumstances around security in this country, to deliver a hassle-free election in 2023 that your party can be proud of, and whatever result comes out, you can say, well, the Independent Electoral Commission has done its bit so far, and we are proud of it, and in this election with all sense of confidence in the electoral body.
Yeah, thank you very much. I want to believe that INEC is doing its bit. Like I said, it takes all of us to make sure we have a good election season. And there is no perfection anywhere, but we pray and hope that INEC will come close to perfection. We understand they've invited the parties at different levels of their preparedness, which is very good. We have seen a lot of improvement since the last election, which is very good. But what I would like to say to Nigerians, especially the undecided voters, because when you look at that percentage of the young adults, I want to also believe that some of them are still undecided, some of them are decided. But as Nigerians, what I want to tell you is that that age range is really your formation, life formation, that you cannot take much for granted. Whatever decision, whatever objective that you look at in your private life, in your civic life, in your national life, you have to sit down and make sure you made the right decision for yourself and for your, for your career and for whatever you are building for your future. And it is the reason why we need to make sure that at this critical junction, we make the right decision, all of us together. And I will still come back to leadership, because in Nigeria we have everything. We are so blessed, the people, it is unimaginable. But when you have people that does not understand how to manage resources, or they barely understand how to manage resources, there's so little they can do. They can only go so far. And that's why I am telling you today that distinguished Senator Rabi Musa Kwankwaso is the right person. It's not the issue of is too proud. He's a very humble person. He's not somebody that puts it in your face that I'm this, I'm that. No, he's very accessible. He's very selfless. He understands the policies. He understands your pains. Because if you understand people's pain, when somebody brings an idea to you or a policy formulation to you, you look at it and say, what's the impact on my people? If you see that child on the street and you say, that's my child not going to school, come here, little one, why are you not in school? That is somebody that cares. If you say, look, I believe that we can have a better and greater Nigeria, I believe in education, I believe in security, and I want to live for what I believe. That's the kind of leadership that we need.
Just because time is no longer on our side, I'd like to get this one. The NNPP is in this race, and you said to win.
Yes.
We have the NNPP, we have the Labour Party, which I wish we had more time. I would have loved to make some comparisons. But I'll just take the comments, of Alhaji Mr. Kwankwaso yesterday that says that whatever is happening with the popularity of the Labour Party right now is like a vapor that will fizzle away with time.
It is fizzling.
I'm hoping, I've been waiting to actually see a lot of the people online and on site who, support the Labour Party candidate, who you see on social media spaces, organize themselves, raise money, to support the candidates and their own candidates, and continue to drive PVC correction, which is a very important tool, for success in the 2023 election. How well positioned are you is the New Nigerian People's Party and its candidate to emerge victorious in the 2023 elections, considering all the options?
Well, I will tell you straight out, we are very different. We are very organic in nature, in our decision making, in our composition of the leadership of the party, the management of the campaign. And I will also tell you that just like distinguished Senator Rabi Musa Kwankwaso had said, PDP doesn't have anything else to offer. They started fighting. APC had come. We thought we were going to have a change. There's no change. They don't have anything else to talk about but to start fighting each other and confusing the voters. Because if you have something to offer, you can fight a little and get back to work. But we can see that all these issues they are dragging, how does it impact you and how does it impact me? If anybody thinks anybody has done wrong, go to the agencies, go to court, do something about it. You can talk about it, but it's not going to be our national issue for 1 week, number one. Then number two, in terms of our approach, see, I don't want to put that anybody's effort. It's not necessary. All I just want to do is what we have to offer Nigeria and how we are going to do it. And trust me, we are going to do it. We are going to carry you along, particularly with our program that says the community participation and orientation program. It gets people involved. If you get people involved, it's very difficult for somebody to come and act crazy in your community or destroy your community, because you understand what at the moment a lot of people don't understand what's going on in their communities. But when we do this community participation, when we put that program fund, it's going to be funded from the center. That means that more money is coming from the center to the grassroots. That means if you want to do schools, if you want to buy shoes, you want to buy books, you engage people in your community. So what does that amount to? Prosperity from below upwards. So that is one of the integral things that we are doing differently. And what my principal talk about the Labour Party with the handle liver salt analogy is that, look, Nigerians are beyond people on social media. When we travel by road, which none of the candidates at the moment can beat their chest and say they've covered the kind of mileage we have covered on the road. Yes, we have options. We can fly and drop down everywhere we want to, but guess what? That is why they don't know what is happening to people at the grassroots. But for us, we are very grassroots people, and we have looked at our numbers and we have seen the possibility of making it the first round. We're not even talking about the second round. We're talking about on the first round. And say sometimes when expectation is very low, you'll come out brilliantly at the minute that people cannot do much about it. And this is our minute, and this is our time to tell Nigerians how we can work together and make Nigeria a better place for all of us.
All right, thank you. It's quite interesting. We should continue this conversation, but I'd just like to end with these statistics. So
okay.
Get a view of it. 18 political parties refilled a total of 15,307 candidates,
yes,
including 1,553 women,
yes,
for 1,491 offices, including the presidency, 28 governorship offices, 109 senators, 360 in the House of Representatives, and 993 seats in the state houses of assembly.
Yes.
I hope that your party, the NNP, has enough representation.
No, we have every 100%.
Across this.
I was part of the upload. I was part of the process within our party to upload our candidates and our substitution and the rest of it. All of it.
Okay, so I wish you the best in the 2023 election.
Thank you, sir.
But before the election, we will have you again to have more conversations.
I'll be delighted. I'll be delighted.
All right, viewers, it's been a wonderful conversation with Madam Folashade Aliu, the campaign secretary of the New Nigeria People's Party, led by Alhaji Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso,
yes,
the presidential candidate.
Yes.
And of course, it's a wonderful conversation with you today on this edition of the program. I will come your way again with more interesting political talk on our live TV. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Olubenga Joy. I'll see you next time.